to start with, one report that we were very, very happy to highlight this morning. In fact, it hasn't received the kind of attention it should have, and I want all our viewers and our panelists to listen to this carefully. Did you know? We did not know that this was the extent of what was going on. And let me put that question to Dr. Venkatesh Rao, because he's been authorized. He's been authorized to speak on behalf of those who are, because he's privy to the facts, and that's why I want him to come in. A deliberate attempt, Dr. Rao, and you can tell our viewers, we spoke to you earlier. Was there a deliberate attempt to silence all those questioning the man-made origins of COVID-19, SARS-CoV-19, after top Indian scientists, including those 8 of them who authored that paper from IIT Delhi? They started studying this in November 2019 after the outbreak, published the paper in January 2020. In hours, they were trolled, they were cyberbullied, got anonymous mails, hundreds and thousands of mails overnight, to an extent that they had to pull down that paper. IIT scientists and researchers, they were called names, they were called pseudoscientists. And ironically, the same scientists that we are proud of are the same ones who developed the RT-PCR test for India. And in January 2020, they spoke about the unusual origins of this. Am I right or am I wrong, Dr. Venkatesh Rao?
At the end of, towards the end of January, they put up their report or their study on the preprint website for everyone else to make their comments. This is done before such an article is given for publication to peer-reviewed journals. And they clearly found that this had 4 inserts from the AIDS virus, and there is no known way that in nature this genetic material can transfer from an AIDS virus, which is a retro RNA virus, to a RNA virus like a coronavirus. Now, they also found that the 4th insert had to do with the furin cleavage site, which is very specific to the human being, because the enzyme furin is available on the human airway cells, and it will cleave any protein which has a furin cleavage site. And this was made specifically for the sake of human beings. So all this was highly suspicious that this was not something which had happened naturally, and it was bioengineered. And this they put up on that site. And what happened after that, I don't know how many numbers, but they got so much of calls and emails that they finally decided in a few days to withdraw that. They then looked into the entire paper, revised it, and then tried to publish it. That is when they realized that no journal was willing to publish it. To their surprise, over the next few months, major parts of the findings were published by other well-known authors in well-known journals. So their article was not accepted. But over the many months, much of their study was published by other well-known authors and in well-known journals. And I must say that I started studying all this after WHO, the disappointment with the WHO study, and in which the Sunday Guardian encouraged me to look into all this and start writing articles. I wrote 5 articles, and I have been mentioning this study in 3 of those 5 articles. Another important article which has to be mentioned here is an article written by the doctors of Wuhan, in which they have gone and spoken to all the initial admissions in Wuhan. The timeline, intelligence report said that the first infections were in November, which is at the November end. According to this Lancet publication, the Wuhan doctor said that the first admission to the Wuhan hospital was on 1st. And they have given a list of all the patients who were admitted, and these were all admitted patients whose tests were done. The RT-PCR test was done, and they were proved to be having SARS-2 infection. And the first 3 of these had nothing to do with the wet market. They have interviewed each of these and they have mentioned it in their paper that the first three were not involved with the wet market.
Yeah.
The only other area of suspicion was the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And that's where it is. Other than this, there was an American pharmacologist who had done research on the spike protein of this virus to identify which medicines and which vaccine, how they can be better targeted at this virus. And he later did a molecular biology study to show that this spike protein definitely is man-made, and it has been done in the lab.
Yeah.
And all this information is there in the articles I have written. They are all based on published articles. It is also based on information available on the Wuhan Institute of Virology website and various other such articles related to it. Actually, by January end of last year, the whole story was out. It's just that it has all been buried by well-known virologists around the world who had obviously were involved in gain-of-function research and didn't want too much of this to come out.